welcome everyone to this webinar about the mobile application development with Bonita platform. So I'm Antoine Mottier, technical evangelist at Bonita Soft, and I'm an expert on the Bonita solution, of course, and I really care about this aspect of the solution, about the mobility. Make sure that you can run Bonita application on any kind of device. And so today in this webinar, we'll start with some introduction about why having mobile application is so important. And we'll have a few use cases. We'll mention a few different use cases. Also, we'll have an overview for those of you who are less familiar with Bonita solution, an overview of the architecture of Bonita solution. So it's helped to understand how creating mobile application is possible with Bonita. And next we'll focus on the structure of Bonita application and one key component in the development of such application that we call the UI designer. So it's our tool to create user interface. We'll focus also on some key features of this tool that are related to mobile experience. And we'll mention also the Bonita portal available with Bonita. So let's start first with why mobility is so important nowadays. Actually, now I think every user of an application, of a web application, expect to be able to also use this application on his mobile device. Like any kind of website you are currently using, you expect them to be available as well on your mobile device. And within the context of business application, it's really important because it's allow all kind of employee to keep interacting with the business application wherever he is located. And we'll see in the use case that we have various situations where this kind of feature is critical. So this way the process, I mean the execution of the business process doesn't stop when someone is out of the office, wherever it's at. You can keep interacting with the application. Like for example, if a sales rep is on site with a customer, gathering some important information about the project of the customer, it can input them right away in the Bonita application and make all the needed action, downward action running, because you have access to Bonita at all time, including on this mobile device. But creating application for mobile device is not, it's not that easy, because you have to take into account some specific characteristic of the mobile device, and probably the most obvious one is the size of the screen. So a web interface that's fit well on a laptop or on a tablet will not maybe fit on a mobile device, and usually by mobile device including smartphone, but tablet also are included. And actually it's this variety of device, like ranging from the smartphone to the large desktop screen, that make this whole mobility thing really important. I mean, it's really a matter of being able to adjust to the size of the device. So it's not only mobile device, but it can also be like tablets or any other device. And when we consider like a smartphone, there is also some unique capabilities compared to a desktop. For example, usually smartphones come with a GPS or some sensors, or like they have cameras. So you probably want to leverage all this kind of feature when you create application. Like for example, if you have a QR code, probably you want to scan it using your smartphone. It's something that can be quite easy with Bonita, like to be able to use the camera in Bonita native apps. So during this webinar, I'll try to have a few quick demonstration about the feature of Bonita, and we'll focus on this component that we call the UI designer in Bonita that let you create user interface. And my last point here is about the experience, the user experience we offer, either to our employee or to our customers. When they interact with the Bonita application, we want to make sure that they have the same set of features no matter the kind of device they use. If I'm submitting a new, I don't know, for example, a loan request, so I initiate a new process and I'm a customer of this bank and I'm submitting this new request, I want to have the same experience if I'm on mobile or if I'm at home on my laptop. It doesn't matter where I'm at and which kind of device I'm using. I want to be able to perform the same set of action and use the same information. And all this is possible thanks to responsive web application. We'll see that this is really important in Bonita. When you create your application, you make them responsive so they can adapt to any kind of device. But before I jump into technical details of Bonita solution, maybe we'll have a step back and try to present a few use cases about what our customers are doing related to mobility and Bonita platform application. So as I just mentioned, we have this client, this customer that is this bank, and that the process for actually tracking new loan requests to make sure that they provide better response time to their customer. They modelize and draw the whole process using Bonita, and they track really the performance of the process execution. And they want their end user to be able to interact with Bonita also on mobile device, because when you are into B2C now, I mean, a customer probably never understand that your website is not available on mobile device. Native application might also be important, but if you don't have the native application, at least you should be able to access using a web browser on mobile device. And we'll have a focus in this presentation about what is possible natively with Bonita when creating web interface, and what is possible also if you want to build a native application for one specific operating system on mobile. Other use case of mobile device is in actually in health business. One of our customers used mobile device actually to track drug prescription and delivery in hospital. So basically the nurse, for example, will input some information related to drugs while next to the patient bed, and this will automatically trigger some action and tracking about what is delivered, so improving the safety of the patient. And one last example also is in a construction business. One of our customers actually installing cranes on construction sites, and there is a kind of important certification process when you do such installation, like to make sure there is no risk with I don't know, like electrical wiring or buildings nearby and so on. So it's have important process that where different actors are participating, like of course the company who do the installation, but also some regulation from local authorities and so on. And obviously when you are on site on this construction site, you would probably not bring this huge laptop with you, and so in most situations they use mobile device, and so they are using some mobile interface to report some data related to the setup that is done on the construction site. So there is really a broad usage of mobile device, like it's ranging from this employee usage, employee that move to customer location or move next to the patient and so on, but also interaction with the final customer. So now let's maybe deep dive into the Bonita solution. And first off, I will start with an overview of the Bonita architecture, because this is actually important to understand some capabilities of Bonita. So on the left side here, you can see what we call the Bonita Studio. So this is basically the development environment where you can modelize the business process. So that will be the heart really of the application you create with Bonita. This Bonita Studio will also let you define some business data model to store your business data, define interaction with third-party system and so on. So really you create all your application within Bonita Studio. And one part of this application is the user interface. And this will be achieved using the component we call the UI designer. So we'll have a look next to this UI designer, and I'll try to have a few demonstrations about this UI designer tooling here. So this is really the creation of the application, and this application usually is stored in a source control, for example, like Git, to store the result of the application development. And next, you deploy this application on what we call the runtime, so really the server-side part of the solution. So this includes the Bonita engine, for example, that will execute the process that you create in Bonita Studio, and also some parts that are responsible to make the user interface available to the end user. So here, end user will interact with Bonita. The native solution is through the web browser. So they can interact with Bonita portal, but they can also interact with what we call the Bonita living application, so a set of web user interface that behind will actually send some action on the process, like executing a task or submitting some new business data, stuff like that. So it's really the interaction between the end users and the Bonita platform, going through either the standard solution that the Bonita portal or custom development created with our UI designer, so the Bonita living application. And this runtime, of course, needs some storage. So one related with the execution of the process, so the one we call the engine data, and one more related to your actual use case, that will be the business data here. So that's the native solution, and of course what is important here is to see that you can build also a custom application. That means that if you are not happy with what is provided out of the box with the UI designer and this web user interface that are executed in Bonita portal, you can as well create your own application and work with the API of the Bonita runtime to create your own application. All the APIs that are used by Bonita portal or by the application you create using the UI designer are available for a custom development. So in Bonita, our native solution rely on the web browser, but if you want to build native application that work with Bonita, it's actually possible thanks to those APIs. They are REST APIs, and you can call them, you can handle authentication of the user and then interact with Bonita process using the API. Last part here on the right hand side are what we call connectors. It's basically the solution when you execute the process to interact with external systems, and we have a catalog of standard connectors, like to send an email, get some data from cloud APIs, push some data or pull some data from CRM, CRM, sorry, or ERP. And so we have this catalog, and of course it's extensible, but I'll get back on the extension capability of Bonita a little bit later. So that's the overview of the Bonita platform architecture, and now I'll focus a little bit more on our user interface. So as I said, in Bonita you can create user interface using this tool we call the UI designer. So you can do some creation of web user interface by doing some drag and drop, and you will create what we call forms that will be associated with the task of the process. So when you submit a form, you actually tell the Bonita runtime to execute the task, and it actually also sends some data to the runtime, data collect from the end user. And we also have what we call pages that allow you to create applications that give this high-level view customized for one specific user profile, allowing you to have this more generic view. I mean, this more high-level view that group together maybe different tasks, different information, like you can include reports, stuff like that, all together in one single web interface. When you create your application with Bonita, you will be able to use a standard catalog of web components, but you are also able to reuse, for example, some contribution. We have this community version, so you can reuse contribution from the community. You can also extend the catalog available by default with your own development. If you have some web development skills, you can, or a team to do that, you can create and extend the solution, or you can work directly with us or one of our partners to customize the standard catalog of the web component available. And of course, you have this native application, this standard application that is the Bonita portal that let the end user select and perform tasks, for example, but also is here to handle administration tasks like deploying a process, configuring process, and so on. So now let's focus on what is interesting today, the UI designer, and how you can actually create web interfaces that are compatible with mobile device. So here, rather than working with the slides, I will use my Bonita Studio here, and I will launch the UI designer. It's available from here. So UI designer is a web application. So you can see it here. If I start it, I find one tab here for what we call pages and one for what we call forms, but the way to build pages or forms are quite the same. So here I will go with one pages for my demonstration. And what is important when you create this web interface, actually, you create a web interface that will be responsive. So by responsive, I mean you create one single web interface. You create actually one application, and it will be able to adapt to the various kind of device. You can see here I add one widget, one input widget, and you can see that this width here of 12 columns. That because we work with a technical component, a library actually that is quite popular in web development, that it's called Bootstrap. And basically here the width of the screen is divided in 12 columns. So here my component by default take all the space. If I add one next to it, by default they split each in half, 6 and 6. So I can have 3 different widgets here, and they take all the space on one row. But you can see here in the upper right corner, I create this layout for what we call medium device. It's basically a laptop. If I switch to small device like a phone, automatically the size of the widget has been set to 12. That means that on a mobile device, I will go with all the different widgets stack one on each other because a single widget uses all the size. So for example, the settings here, like the label of the widget, like here first name, will be shared for all size of device. So you already have only one application, you can see here. So all the settings are shared for all device except the width here that lets you adjust the look and the rendering of the interface depending on the size of the device. So here, for example, let's say on tablet device, I want maybe another layout. So I will have this like with a width of 6, and sorry, I'll put this next with 6. And now if I do the preview, I can actually choose which kind of device I'm doing the rendering for in this preview. So you can see here in my preview I on 3 column on laptop, but if I go with the mobile, I have this different layout with 2 columns on the first row and a single column in the second row, and finally on mobile I stack all the widget on 3 different rows. So that actually here is a key feature of the development of mobile interface with Bonita, is by using this capability of the solution to adjust the size of the widget on mobile device. Also, when you develop your own widget, you can integrate such settings, and you can leverage this library that we include by default, that's Bootstrap for this rendering. But all the widgets we provide natively in Bonita, they all support this setting of width, and they can all be customized. One important thing to mention here is this capability of the solution to adapt the size of to have different layout depending on the size of the screen is only available in the Enterprise edition of Bonita solution. It's a feature that will not be available in the Community edition of the solution. Okay, so now I want to speak about another feature. It's a little bit related with mobile device. And it's actually one component, widget, sorry, of the UI designer. We call it the Save Form widget, and basically it will be a button that you add to your form, and when you click on this button, it will actually save all the data of the user input on the form in the web browser local storage. So that means that all the data will be kept in the web browser of the user. So if the user disconnects from the Bonita platform, then log in again, you will find again all the data you already input in the form. That's different compared to submitting the task, because when you submit a task with the classic submit button, it asks the Bonita runtime to execute the task, so the process moves forward to the next task. When you use this Save Form widget, all the data are saved locally in the web browser of the user, but the form is not submitted. So the task is not submitted, so all processing related to this task is not submitted. And this is interesting when you speak about and when you think about mobility and usage of Bonita on mobile device like smartphone, because sometimes you move to an area that is not coverage that is not covered by your cell phone provider. And using this widget, we'll be able to work with your Bonita form, input all the data, save them locally, and when you get the network again, you will be able to submit the form. Something that is important to understand is when you are using this widget, the data are kept in the web browser. So if you're switching to a different web browser, like for example, you start to work on your mobile device, you click on this save button, and then you switch to your desktop web browser, you will not find the data. You have to submit the form using your mobile web browser. Also, if your form has some interaction with some API, it needs to have access to the network. There is this widget is not a solution to have like offline stubs for the APIs. So it doesn't apply to any kind of forms, but it still can be quite useful to a broad selection of forms when you need to save the data without submitting the task. For example, if you are about to board a plane, for example, to catch a plane, you already start working on a task, you click on save, and when you get back online, you can submit the task. So there is a variety of usage for this save form widget, but yeah, I think about various places where you cannot have access to network, it can be really useful to include this widget. Also, something that I didn't cover is about the Bonita portal. So let's open it here. So this is the default portal, so the default user interface that is available to end users, so where they can see the list of tasks. Maybe here I will just create quickly a process with a form to have a better view of this. And I will just have a quick test data for this demonstration that I will add to my process, just to have an input widget when I'm starting the process. Okay. And now let's define my process initialization and create a form for this process. So now if I'm running this process and start the process, it will move to step 1, and I can see in the portal that I have one task pending here. Okay, so this is the default view for the end user. If you have form associated with task and process, the end user will be able to start new process instance using this list of process here with the start button, and then it will be able to perform task using by selecting the task here, and it will see the form you associate with the task on the right hand side here. So this layout here, it fits well on a desktop screen with filter on the left, the task in the middle, and the details on the right. But maybe on mobile device it's not a perfect fit. So right now our portal is not responsive, but we rather develop a totally another web application to have a web interface. So we have this this view here of the mobile portal where the user can log in, and you can see you find the same set of features like filtering by task, see the tasks that have been done, be able to see the task list, select the task and perform the task. So this is currently the solution for the portal on the mobile device, but we are right now in an effort to make our portal responsive, to make sure that the end user actually have exactly all the feature we got on the desktop version with the mobile version, and to have a unique application. Because by developing a unique application, it's also a really good opportunity to join the effort and reduce the workload for the developers, because they only have to create one single application, and this application then adapt to the different kind of device, rather than having two applications developed, one for mobile and one for desktop. Before I finish this presentation, I want to get back to this key aspect of the Bonita solution, that's the extensibility of the platform. I mentioned in the UI designer, you have this catalog of widgets that are available out of the box. So like the input widget, drop-down list, checkbox, and so on. But you can as well create your own. So you can do some custom developments. So that's useful if you want to have some widgets that have different behavior on desktop and mobile, for example, or include some business-specific widgets. And on the engine and process execution side, you also have this extension capability when you want to interact with third-party solution, because we have this native set of what we call connectors, but you can build as well your own. And when you work with processing data, you, as I said, you usually interact with processing data using the forms and the Bonita portal, but you can also build your application, because you can leverage the API of Bonita engine to drive process execution. So start a process, perform a task, submit some data, or pull some data from process. So if you need to build a native application, you can do that by using the Bonita REST API. So that's one way to use the native feature of the mobile device, for example, is to create a native application and work with Bonita REST API. But there's also some nice toolkits that can allow you to work with native feature of the mobile device using JavaScript, and you can embed that in your Bonita user interface by using some custom widgets. Actually, this has been done by one of our partners called Aprico, a Belgian partner, and is able to work with feature of the mobile device, for example, such as notifications, or using, for example, so Touch ID or feature like that, so native feature of the phone. Of course, part of the native feature of the phone can be used out of the box in Bonita. I'm thinking about, for example, the camera of the phone. If you use the widget to upload the file in Bonita, if you click on this widget, it will actually ask you whether if you want to browse the file system of your cell phone, or if you want to use the camera of your smartphone to take a picture. So for example, if you need to upload some ID for a process, you click to attach the files, or you already have a screenshot of your ID and you can upload it, or you can use right away the camera to capture an image. And if you are happy with the picture you took, you validate and upload the file, and the file is available to be processed by Bonita. So about all the feature of mobile application on mobile device, this is as I said for Enterprise Edition. On Community Edition, you don't have this option to have different layout based on the kind of device used by the end user. So when you are in the UI designer on Community, you will not have this selection of device here, so you will be able to only have one settings for the width here. So you might want to try to have one single layout that fits all the kind of device. That might be possible. Or sorry, if maybe you target only mobile device, you can do that. But usually, if you want to have pretty user interface that adapts to the device, you will need to have the Enterprise Edition to be able to set different width based on the different kind of device used. And in the same way, the mobile version of Bonita Portal is also available only on Enterprise Edition. If you already have this Enterprise Edition, you can check out the documentation about the mobile portal. It got a dedicated URL. I can show you quickly here in the documentation of Bonita. If you search for mobile portal, you should find the dedicated page. And here you have the links to the URL of the portal. So the desktop portal is /Bonita and /Bonita/mobile is the URL for the mobile version of the portal. It's again only available in Enterprise Edition. If you are interested in the Enterprise Edition actually, so you can get in touch with us using the contact us form on our corporate website, so on bonitasoft.com. You have a contact us link, and just to mention the file widgets, if you use it, and it's also available in the community, it should in both the case. So if you're running Community or Enterprise Edition, it should pop up with this option to select between both the file or take a picture. This feature is actually brought by the mobile web browser, so it should be available even in Community Edition. To configure the same form widget, I recommend you check the official documentation. There is explanation about how to use it in the documentation, but basically you will just have to specify the name of the variable that collects all the user data, and it will take care of saving this in the local storage of the web browser when the user clicks on the button. I'm asked if the UI designer can use some custom CSS file. So yeah, you can when you are in the UI designer here creating your page or your forms, you have this assets tab here, and you can add some CSS. So you can add a new assets here, select CSS, and include your CSS file. So either providing the URL or by uploading a file and push the file inside the form or page definition. So for access to native mobile functionality like camera, GPS, stuff like that, you can rely on libraries. So our partner, for example, work with a library called Xamarin. It's a library from Microsoft, and they use this to bring the native feature of the phone into the Bonita web application. You can probably also work with libraries such as PhoneGap to bring this native feature into Bonita application. Yeah, I'm asked about how to include some JavaScript customization in the portal. So yeah, you can add your JavaScript here as well as a new asset. You can see here in the type if you want to have some custom codes. But if you want to reuse like a custom widget across different different form or pages, so it's more like an extension. You actually need to go to this custom widget tab here, and you can create a custom widget. Like, for example, if you want to display a map into your process with localization of the user, you might want to create a custom widget for that. So thank you all for your participation, and don't hesitate if you have more questions. You can use this contact us form on Bonitasoft website, and you can also get in touch with us on the community forum as well, or via Twitter. We'll also enter on Twitter. Thank you all, and I wish you a nice day or a nice evening. Goodbye.